Warm greetings from the United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia Pacific in Bangkok. Thanks for joining the high-level policy dialogue today on SDG7 Roadmap for Indonesia and the official launch of the roadmap. My name is Hongpeng Liu. I'm a Director of Energy Division at ESCAP. Ms. Amita Salicia Alice Jabana, Under Secretary General of the United Nations and the Executive Secretary of UN ESCAP, is joining us here in Bangkok. Honorable Dr. Suharto Monosarava, Minister for National Development Planning, Bappenas, Indonesia, and Honorable Minister Arifin Tasrif, Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources in Indonesia, has to participate the cabinet meeting exactly the same time with our high-level policy dialogue, and regretted at the last minute. Sorry for this change. However, they have designated their senior officials to deliver keynotes on their behalf. I thank Mr. Arifin Radiato, Deputy Minister for Maritime Affairs and Natural Resources, Ministry for National Development Planning, Bappenas, and Dr. Ago Sayarel, Secretary General, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Indonesia, joining us. Honorable Aziz Syam Sadin, Member of Parliament, Deputy Speaker of the People's Representative Council, Indonesia, is joining us from Jakarta and will deliver keynote address too. I'm also very glad and appreciate all the panelists to join us today. And we will have two sessions. First session, the keynote opening remarks from Ibu Amita, and then from the senior officials from Bappenas and the Minister and the Ministry of Energy, and also MP Aziz Syam Sadin. And we will record this meeting, and also at the same time we have a YouTube channel to have more audience to watch live, and also the audience can ask questions through the chat. And because the limited time we have for the session, but for all the questions, please send us to chat, and also we will share with the email address. You send us the questions with the email, then we will just reply one by one. Without further ado, I'd like to invite Ms. Amita Salicia Alice Jabana to make the welcome remarks. Ibu Amita, floor is yours.
Yang saya hormati Bapak Suharto Monoarfa, Menteri Perencanaan Pembangunan Nasional, Kepala Bappenas. Yang saya hormati Bapak Arifin Tasrif, Menteri ESDM. Yang saya hormati Bapak Aziz Syamsuddin, Wakil Ketua DPR RI, Pak Sekjen ESDM, Pak Ego Syahrial, Pak Deputi Bappenas, Pak Arifin Rudianto, Bapak Ibu pembicara, serta peserta High Level Policy Dialogue yang saya muliakan. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. Selamat datang kepada Bapak Ibu semua pada acara High Level Policy Dialogue on SDG7 Roadmap for Indonesia. Kami sekali lagi mengucapkan terima kasih kepada Bappenas, kepada Kementerian SDM, serta Dewan Energi Nasional atas dukungan serta kerjasamanya, sehingga terselenggara baik report yang akan kami luncurkan sesaat serta acara High Level Policy Dialogue ini. Selanjutnya, perkenankan saya menyampaikan pesan berikut dalam bahasa Inggris. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, since the adoption of the 2030 Agenda, countries in the Asia-Pacific region have been working steadfastly to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. At the heart of SDG is the goal on energy, which is SDG7. Energy is the key enabler of development and is an essential input to economic growth. Our region is home to about 60% of the global population and has emerged as an economic powerhouse. This rapid economic growth has driven up our energy demand, and the region's current consumption stands at about half of the global total. Yet inequality is still widening. The outlook for energy access for the region's poorest and most vulnerable people is not looking promising. While citizens in many countries across the region are enjoying reliable access to electricity, the benefits of modern energy have not reached all. Poor access to clean cooking fuel is another area that requires immediate action. We have much work to do. Heavy reliance on important fossil fuel in the Asia-Pacific region imposes vulnerability for the region's energy security, with the possibility of supply disruption and fuel price spikes. Burning fossil fuel leads more air pollution and is not compatible with the long-term climate goals agreed to by all countries. Together, SDG7 and the Paris Agreement requires the Asia-Pacific region to offer a solution through a transition to a lower carbon, more equitable and cleaner energy system. Renewable energy and energy efficiency will play a much broader role in a future energy system. As well as reducing greenhouse gas emission, both approaches can lead to cost savings, greater energy security, and cleaner skies for our cities. With the sharp decline in the cost of renewable energy technology, the economic feasibility to move towards a system largely based on sustainable energy is becoming more clear than ever. With COVID-19 pandemic, the region is now facing the challenge of restoring economies back to their previous dynamism. The sustainable energy transition supported by green stimulus can play an important role in the sustainable recovery. Transforming the energy sector in a way that would help achieve SDG 7 as well as align with the objectives of the Paris Agreement would be critical. Such a transition requires more than just action at the local level. Leaders need to play an active role in adopting the changes and paving the path for others to follow. Indonesia is certainly a leader in Southeast Asia and has been leading by example. The government's role in reducing the fossil fuel subsidy has set a benchmark and is being demonstrated as one of the world's best practices. Indonesia has again demonstrated the leadership in developing the first SDG7 Roadmap in Asia and the Pacific. I would like to congratulate the government of Indonesia for achieving this very important milestone. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the SDG7 Roadmap presents a set of technological options and recommended policy measures, which together forms a pathway for Indonesia for achieving SDG7. It presents a detailed assessment of each of the SDG7 target and indicator in the Indonesian context, identifies gaps in current policies, and finally recommends a set of policy measures to bridge the gap. It looks at the entire energy sector and not only at electricity generation. This means that energy use in the industry sector, transport sector, and agriculture sector is also included. The emission reduction target, as presented in Indonesia's Nationally Determined Contribution, or NDC, is an integral part in developing a sustainable energy future and to ensuring the country achieves the Paris Agreement target. The roadmap also shows how the increase of renewable energy and energy efficiency can help Indonesia to achieve its intended emission reduction target. The roadmap also presents a detailed economic analysis for the energy transition to help policymakers make informed decisions. Finally, the roadmap offers a number of measures to leverage the least cost sustainable energy development and direct the investment savings to other official sectors. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to once again to express my sincerest appreciation to the government of Indonesia, in particular to the Ministry of National Development Planning, Bappenas, to the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, SDM, and also to DEN, the National Energy Council, for its continued cooperation and support to develop the national SDG7 Roadmap. ESCAP will continue the collaboration to ensure that the recommendations and findings are reflected in national strategies and policies, as well as any other support to ensure Indonesia achieves SDG7 and NDC target by 2030. I'm confident that Indonesia will continue to lead the way in building a secure, resilient, and sustainable energy future for Southeast Asia region and beyond. I count on your leadership. Again, thank you very much. Terima kasih atas perhatian Bapak Ibu semua. Selamat dan sukses kepada Bapak Ibu semua. Salam sehat. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Ibu Amita. Thank you for the overall introduction and the opening remarks. As Ibu Amita said, the SDG7 roadmap for Indonesia is one of the first national roadmap to implement SDG7. And we also invited the other countries who are developing the national SDG7 roadmap also joining this meeting. I hope this will be very good kind of information to share with others. So next, we will have 3 keynote speakers. Please allow me to invite Mr. Arifin Rudiato, Deputy Minister for Maritime Affairs and Natural Resources, on behalf of Honorable Minister Suharto Monoarfa, Minister for National Development Planning, Bappenas, Indonesia, to deliver a keynote speech. Mr. Arifin, please.
Thank you very much. Yang terhormat Ibu Armida Salsiah Alisahbana, Executive Secretary, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, UNESCAP. Yang terhormat Bapak Aziz Syamsuddin, Wakil Ketua DPR Republik Indonesia. Selamat pagi, Pak. Yang saya hormati Bapak Eko Syahrial, Sekretaris Jenderal Kementerian Energi dan Sumber Daya Mineral. Sesungguhnya yang akan menyampaikan langsung adalah Bapak Menteri Suharto Monoarfa, tapi karena beliau sedang kabinet menugaskan kami untuk mewakili beliau. Now I would like to read his speech. Honorable panelists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. First of all, I am delighted and honored to join this high-level policy dialogue on SDG7 Roadmap for Indonesia to celebrate the official launch of the SDG7 Roadmap for Indonesia. Despite the global pandemic COVID-19, it is remarkable that we can accomplish this roadmap well and on time. I would like to express my gratitude to United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, UNESCAP, that have made this dialogue possible with the support and careful thought that shows excellent contribution among organizations in the current challenging situation. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, in Indonesia's long-term vision 2045 will be a developed country with a GDP of around $24,000 per capita and the 5th largest GDP of any country. To achieve the long-term vision this year, Indonesia launched a medium-term national development plan for 2020-2034 as a start to the economic transformation toward becoming a developed country. On our medium-term planning 2020-2034, Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs target have been adopted and elaborated to support SDGs achievement globally. Moreover, the medium-term planning 2020-2024 has become the first green medium-term planning for Indonesia, which incorporate low carbon development and climate resolution as one of our national priority agenda. The Low Carbon Development Initiative, or LCDI, is also playing a role as a basis to transform our economy toward a low carbon economy. LCDI became our main response to Paris Agreement challenge in reducing greenhouse gas emission by 29% in 2030 or 41% with international cooperation. Through low carbon development strategies, Indonesia has optimized could reduce greenhouse gas emission by 27.3% from the baseline scenario in 2024. And the energy sector would contribute about 13.2%. Based on projection, the energy sector is one of the major contributors to carbon emission in Indonesia, which by 2030, emission from the energy sector is predicted to reach 1,355 million tons of carbon dioxide equivalent. Considering this situation, transitioning energy resource utilization to a cleaner and greener future is undoubtedly an imperative action for Indonesia to take. One key policy is optimizing effort in shifting to renewable and implementing energy efficiency program. To initiate for energy transition, those are two main strategies to be performed. First, increasing the capacity of developing renewable energy, and second, controlling the growth of fossil energy such as oil, natural gas, and coal. Those two strategies would be applied through many programs, such as co-firing coal power plant with biomass, fuel blending with bioresources, limiting coal production, and so forth. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, SDGs Goal 7, affordable and clean energy, developed into one of catalytic goals that aim at ensuring access to affordable, reliable, sustainable, and modern energy for all. The energy sector is strategic in supporting national development and economy, both through the fiscal, monetary, and real sector. One of SDG Goal 7 target is increasing the mix of renewable energy within the primary energy supply. According to Medium-Term Development Plan 2020-2024 and National Energy Plan, the target of the renewable energy mix in 2024 is 23% and 31% in 2050. Until 2019, the realization of the renewable energy mix is still at 9.15% or 20 million tons of oil equivalent. In terms of generator, only about 2% of the total potential of renewable energy has been utilized. A large gap between target and realization on the renewable energy mix target in 2019 caused by the utilization of oil, natural gas, and coal have been growing higher than the specified target. During COVID-19 pandemic, the development of renewable energy is slowing down. Many unexpected problems have emerged, such as decreasing fossil fuel price, decreasing electricity demand, and affect electricity demand for renewable energy power plant, increasing construction obstacle during the social restriction or PSBB, and rising investment costs. Challenge on renewable energy development could be bridged into three main problems. First, there is still a gap between supply, provision of fund, and demand in terms of development of project pipelines. In renewable energy development, there is a need for many good policies to reconcile these two aspects. Second, renewable energy development requires massive financing. Most developers or service providers do not recognize the long-term maintenance and operational phase that would affect the outcome. Third, mobilizing renewable energy funding from the private sector is still difficult and complicated. The financial sector believes that investment in renewable energy is attractive, but in reality, many projects have not been able to achieve financial close. Ladies and gentlemen, there are at least 3 national agenda of the Medium-Term Development Planning 2020-2024 that are closely linked to the achievement of SDG7 target. First, the Economic Resilience Agenda, emphasizing decreasing final energy intensity, increasing installed capacity of the renewable energy power plant, and utilizing biofuel for domestic usage. Second, the Infrastructure Development Agenda aims at fulfilling electricity consumption demand, increasing city gas transmission. And third, the Environmental Agenda focused in reducing greenhouse gas emission in the energy sector. As an action of those agenda, one of the priority agenda set in Medium-Term Development Planning 2020-2024 is the green fuel development based on palm oil. The project is connected directly to resolve the renewable energy issues, has strategic value, and also high leverage to achieve national development target. While this project aims to increase the renewable energy share, it will also reduce the reliance on imported oil, help on absorb domestic CPO production, and ease the state fiscal budget burden. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, when 193 countries had hand in New York and officially adopted the Sustainable Development Goal, we did it because we knew that a more sustainable, prosperous, and inclusive future is within our grasp. We did it because having the world safer and healthier for our children is the right thing to do. Lastly, my sincerest congratulations on the launching of SDG's Goal 7 Roadmap today. And I wish this roadmap could be effectively implemented to support our effort in achieving SDG 7. Let us strengthen our collaboration in achieving all of the SDGs target. Stay safe and stay well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deputy Minister, for the keynote. And you provide the overall target and the long-term development, especially for the SDG7 related target. I really think the work for the roadmap will contribute to this process. And also we see the gaps and also challenges you provided. I think through the joint work, we will address to these challenges and the gaps. And hopefully this roadmap will play a role and to work together with the government. And now I'd like to invite Dr. Ego Sahero, Secretary General on behalf of Honorable Mr. Arifin Tasrif, Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources, Indonesia, to deliver a keynote speech. Dr. Ego, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Honorable Mrs. Armida Ali Sabana, Executive Secretary of United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and Pacific. Your Excellency, Mr. Aziz Samsudin, Deputy Speaker of Indonesian House of Representatives, Your Excellency, Director of Energy Division of ESCAP, Mr. Praban Klajapon, and Your Excellency, Mrs. Arifin Yudianto, Deputy of Bappenas, distinguished panel participants, ladies and gentlemen. First, let me begin by conveying my deepest apology on behalf of the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources, whom unable to join us today, as at the same time, His Excellency has to attend the Cabinet meeting. Good morning from Jakarta, Indonesia. Now, let me start to deliver Minister's keynote speech. I would like to welcome the initiative from UN ESCAP from the organizing the high-level policy dialogue on Sustainable Development Goal number 7 or SDG7 Roadmap for Indonesia. This event will remark the importance of sustainable development efforts for energy sector in Indonesia. I would like to appreciate the collaborative initiative from the UN ESCAP in arranging the National Expert SDG tool for energy planning or NEXSTEP, together with the SDG7 Roadmap for Indonesia. I proudly recognize that Indonesia has become one of its 3 pilot countries. I do appreciate the collaboration between UN ESCAP, National Energy Council, and Ministry of Planning for developing and finalizing that tool. In this excellent opportunity, I would like to congratulate the official launching for the Indonesian's SDG7 Roadmap, becoming one of the global emerging economics and one of the G20 members in Asia and Pacific. Indonesia will be beneficially supported by the roadmap with the design tool in enhancing the pathways of energy transition, low carbon development, and SDG7 toward 2030. I do also hope that the following event will create enlightening discussion. These are essential for contributing the Indonesian SDG7 roadmap toward 2030, and the NEXSTEP platform will come into fruition. Distinguished panels, participants, ladies and gentlemen, Government of Indonesia is aware that energy sectors play key roles in maximizing the effort for achieving the 2 global frameworks. For achieving this, we understand that every country has different priorities and challenges in accordance to their national circumstances. Indonesia emphasizes the pathways to the transition toward cleaner and more renewable energy, which consider its affordability, equity, and sustainability. Following up the global initiative in G20 to rationalize the inefficient fossil fuel subsidy, Indonesia has taken the ambitious steps in implementing the fossil fuel subsidy reform policy. Government of Indonesia maximizes effort in diverting fossil fuel subsidies for creating more fiscal spaces for financing education, health, social assistance, and infrastructures. This infrastructure development includes clean energy infrastructures such as urban gas network expansion, clean fuel for fisheries vessels, renewable energy access for remote areas, and cleaner public transport. Government of Indonesia has also promoted sustainable development imperative by initiating Indonesia's Low Carbon Development Initiative. In recent years, we also prepare and implement green financing mechanisms such as green bonds to fund clean energy development projects. Indonesia has also set forth its National General Energy Plan, or we call it RUEN, of which its derivative policies are open for more advanced inputs and strategies for achieving the Indonesians' ambitious targets. As an integral part of our energy transition, we plan to gradually replace our diesel power plant with cleaner source option using gas and renewables. In energy for transport, Indonesia has been implementing a national mandatory biodiesel policy of B20, and this has been improved to B30 in this year, 2020. In relation to this biofuel-related initiative, Indonesia is keen to moving forward by starting to develop green refineries to produce a variety of green fuels. This aims for gradually reducing Indonesia fossil fuels consumptions and maximizing our palm oil potential, which has also been part of achieving SDGs in multi-sectoral scope, such as creating employment, improving clean and green technology, sustaining economic, and reducing poverty. Next, by significant coal production, Indonesia will face laborious situation responding to the coal phase-out plan, which is globally sounded now. We are seeking studies on the socio-economic, socio-technological, and socio-political aspect of coal's reductions. We are also currently looking a breakthrough in reducing emission from our coal power plants. This can be done by implementing clean coal technology. It includes the use of biomass through co-firing with coal for reducing emission and increasing the role of renewable energy. In this many attempts, biomass development play key roles in Indonesia clean energy transition. In its form of waste, we are preparing the development of waste-to-energy facilities in 12 cities, integrating waste management and electricity generation, where one of city, Surabaya, has launched its operation. In its form of palm oil waste, biomass can potentially become an alternative to fossil fuel for power plants and industries. Indonesia is developing one of the largest floating solar power project in the 145 megawatt Cirata Dam. This project will significantly enhance clean energy mix in the Java-Bali system as Indonesia's largest interconnection grid system. The operation of this plant will reduce emission from the power generation sector. In order to accelerate the effort to the climate pledge and renewable energy investment, Government of Indonesia is preparing a newly drafted presidential regulation on renewable businesses, which incorporates competitive market mechanism and feed-in tariffs. The use of renewable energy sources is prioritized to provide energy supply to our people in remote and outer areas, while all diesel power plant is projected to be replaced within the next 3 years. The use of electric vehicles is also currently encouraged to decarbonize transportation sectors. Distinguished panel's participants, ladies and gentlemen, Indonesia's energy sectors welcome the launching of SDG7 Roadmap for Indonesia and the NEXSTEP tool, which will help to accelerate the clean energy transition and emission reduction. In the global situation of COVID-19 pandemic, this is an excellent time to enhance global partnership among countries and international organizations in Asia and Pacific for integrating cleaner energy transition in economic recovery program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ego Sahirel, Secretary General from Ministry for Energy and Mineral Resources, for the keynote. And thank you very much for sharing with us about the National Energy Development Plan. And also, as you said, this next two, I don't think this is the end of our collaboration in Indonesia. This is just a starting point. So we will continue work with your ministry, with Bappenas and also other ministries to continue our effort to support the implementation of the national plan and also to support achieving the SDG7 and the other SDGs in Indonesia. Thank you very much. So I now invite Honorable Aziz Samsudin, Member of Parliament, Deputy Speaker of People's Representative Council, Indonesia, to deliver a keynote speech. Back over to you.
Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Selamat pagi untuk Indonesia. Di dalam kesempatan ini, saya untuk dan atas nama Dewan Perwakilan Rakyat Republik Indonesia telah berkonsultasi dengan para pimpinan Ibu Puan Maharani, menyampaikan yang terhormat kepada Menteri Bappenas yang dalam hal ini diwakili oleh Bapak Arifin Rudianto dan kemudian juga Menteri SDM yang diwakili oleh Bapak Jen, kemudian juga dari hal ini juga Eksekutif Sekretari ESCAP yang dalam hal ini adalah Ibu Armida Salsiah Alisabana. Terima kasih dalam kesempatan yang berbahagia ini kepada seluruh teman-teman anggota Dewan Perwakilan Rakyat yang hadir dan join, rekan-rekan dari DEN, Dewan Energi Nasional, serta seluruh partisipan. Di dalam kesempatan ini, Dewan Perwakilan Rakyat Republik Indonesia, Parlemen Indonesia menyambut baik tujuan daripada pertemuan High Level Policy on SDGs on 7 for Indonesia, di mana Parlemen Indonesia akan mensupport seluruh kebijakan-kebijakan dalam hal energi terbarukan, renewable energy, yang akan menjadi suatu pokok pembahasan pada hari ini, dan mudah-mudahan di dalam kesempatan diskusi ini nanti bisa menjadi bahan masukan bagi Parlemen Indonesia untuk membuat perkembangan-perkembangan regulasi yang akan menjadi bahan untuk bagi seluruh negara yang terjoin, yang tergabung di dalam SDG pada hari ini, sehingga kita bisa lakukan. Perlu kami sampaikan di dalam regulasi dengan adanya Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja dan adanya PP nomor 59 tahun 2017 tentang pelaksanaan bagaimana tujuan pembangunan berkelanjutan, tentu menjadi bahan bagi Indonesia. Dalam hal ini Parlemen Indonesia akan mensupport kebijakan-kebijakan pemerintah dan hasil-hasil diskusi pada hari ini untuk menjamin akses energi terbarukan yang bersifat terjangkau, andal, dan berkelanjutan, serta modern dapat memperhatikan lingkungan dalam hal untuk menjaga generasi-generasi berikutnya. Adapun renewable energy yang telah kita lakukan beberapa hal di dalam tergabung dengan kebijakan pemerintah, yaitu dalam hal tenaga air, biomas, panas bumi, kemudian biodiesel dan berbagai hal untuk menopang adanya kebijakan daripada energi terbarukan yang menjadi pokok daripada kita. Dan Parlemen telah mensupport dalam hal ini Undang-Undang Cipta Kerja yang telah memberikan suatu efisiensi dan efisien dan efektif daripada birokrasi, dan berharap di dalam kesempatan SDGs on 7 dalam pertemuan pada kali ini, High Level Policy Dialogue on SDGs 7 for Roadmap Indonesia, tentu mengharapkan menjadi masukan bagi Parlemen Indonesia dan pemerintah Indonesia untuk melakukan hal-hal yang terbaik bagi lingkungan, energi terbarukan, dan Parlemen Indonesia dan Indonesia komitmen untuk mendukung program-program itu. Saya rasa dalam hal sambutan dan keynote speaker pada hari ini, kami ucapkan terima kasih dan selamat untuk melakukan diskusi-diskusi, dan on behalf of the Speaker of the Parliament, thank you very much and good luck for the discussion for this session High Level Policy Dialogue on the SDGs for Roadmap for Indonesia. Thank you very much. Terima kasih.
Thank you, Honorable Aziz Samsudin, for your remarks. And through the Air Quality Asia, actually, we work with the Parliament of Indonesia Green Economy Caucus. And I hope we will get more support and guidance and about how to move forward for this SDG7 roadmap in Indonesia as well as other countries. So next, I would like to invite Ms. Amita Salicia Alice Jabana, Executive Secretary of ESCAP, together with Mr. Arfin Rodiato, Deputy Minister, Dr. Ego Saharel, Secretary General, and Honorable Aziz Samsudin, the Deputy Speaker of House, to officially launch the SDG7 Roadmap for Indonesia. As this is the virtually launch, we don't have the hard copy. All the report will be available to download from ESCAP website. So now I would like to just show this launch virtually, and thank you very much for this opportunity. Please. This is the launch with the title of this SDG7 Roadmap for Indonesia, and with the link, you can download it from there, and also QR code, just scan it to download. And thank you very much for all your support. This was the most important occasion, a milestone for our initiative to support member countries to develop SDG7 roadmap. And thank you once again, Excellencies, for your presence and your keynote speech today. And next, we will start our panel discussion. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Michael Williamson, who is the Section Chief, Energy Division from ESCAP, to moderate the panel discussion. So Michael, over to you.
Thank you very much, Hong Peng, and my thanks also to you and to the distinguished representatives of the government of Indonesia who have launched this roadmap and given us very inspirational and effective remarks which really set the scene for this panel discussion. So as Hong Peng said, my name is Michael Williamson. I'm a section chief in the ESCAP Energy Division. And so what I will attempt to do over the next 45 minutes is to really explain a little bit more of the detail of the SDG7 roadmap for Indonesia, and then introduce some remarks from an array of very distinguished speakers who will reflect their own perspectives on this document and on the theme of sustainable energy development in Indonesia. So to assist this process, I'd like to give a short presentation which will explain some of the highlights of the roadmap. It's difficult to do justice to this document in its entirety because it's such a deep document, but I'll attempt in a very short time span just to explain some of the key findings, and then I would like to turn to our distinguished panelists. So again, welcome. This is just our short summary of the roadmap. So to begin, I guess, where did this come from? This was a need that was raised by the member states of ESCAP. So when we had the Asia Pacific Energy Forum, which is a ministerial level meeting in 2018, the ministerial declaration requested the ESCAP Secretariat to help countries on request in developing these national roadmaps to implement SDG7 and to mainstream the global targets for energy into national policies, plans and strategies. So this in one sense is a member country inspired initiative that we've been working very hard to bring into reality. I don't want to dazzle you too much with the details because this is again documented in the report, but this is an overview of the NEXSTEP methodology. It involves a modeling element, it involves economic analysis, scenario and policy analysis, and finally outputs. So this is examining across the economy using inputs such as GDP growth, costs of technologies, costs of fuels, to come up with this optimized mix of policy options. So it has been a long journey. I think the conversations first started with the Inception workshop back at the end of 2018. So we've proceeded through a number of steps, and I really want to extend a very heartfelt thanks to all of the colleagues in Indonesia who worked with us so steadfastly through all of these steps, through the Inception workshop, the consultation workshop, working on data collection, modeling, customizing the tool, and keeping in mind too, this was the first country that we ever did, so we had to fix as we went a lot of the issues in getting the model just right. So we've also completed a peer review of the roadmap, and now here we are at the launch. So it has been a very long journey, and we wouldn't have completed this journey without the support of all the colleagues in Indonesia. So let me just step you through some of the key findings and recommendations. And again, I encourage you to download the report and look at it and give us your feedback. But if I start with the access question, the good news is that Indonesia is on track to achieve universal access to electricity by this year, by 2020. And this is a target which is elusive for many countries in the Asia-Pacific region. The second category of access is about clean cooking. So in terms of access to clean cooking fuel and technologies, Indonesia plans to provide access to the remaining 20% of households by 2021. So this is the plan using expansion of gas networks and biogas digesters. However, what the analysis in the roadmap suggests is that there is also a supplementary option to use electric cook stoves, particularly using induction technology, which could work alongside these other plans to minimize the investment, but also increase the energy efficiency. And this is just a reflection of the blue line being the actual data that we have so far in terms of clean cooking and the projection up to 2021. So Indonesia is progressing extremely well in terms of clean cooking. So just turning to renewable energy, the second part of the recommendations, looking at the current policies in place, the renewable energy share would increase to 16.4% of the total final energy consumption by 2030, which is short of the target that has been set of 23% by 2025. In addition, when we look at the NDCs, the nationally determined contributions under Paris Agreement, that would be insufficient to achieve the unconditional NDC target. And if we were to achieve the NDC unconditional target, we would need about 22% renewable energy share. So NEXSTEP is suggesting that more ambition is needed in the renewable energy space, but also it's suggesting that based on the current costs that are coming through, the life cycle costs of renewables on balance are cheaper than fossil fuel generation. And these graphs simply show the different scenarios under NEXSTEP. You have business as usual scenario, current policy scenario, and the more ambitious sustainable development goal scenario. So it's showing the renewable energy that would be deployed in the power sector to meet each of these criteria. And I think what's shown in the case of Indonesia is its natural strengths in terms of biomass, geothermal, and hydro. And if we go for more ambitious renewable energy shares, also more solar coming online. The second graph is showing the net benefits of these technologies by scenario, showing that the SDG scenario offers greater net financial benefits. So turning to the last section of the key findings and recommendations on energy efficiency. And as all of you as energy practitioners know, energy efficiency is also often the forgotten aspect of the whole sustainable energy paradigm. It's often called the hidden fuel. So Indonesia has been doing a very good job in general about enhancing its energy efficiency. So the way it's measured internationally is looking at energy intensity, how much energy is required to produce 1 unit of GDP. That ratio has been decreasing over the last decade. And it's been decreasing by about 1% per year. But to achieve the very ambitious SDG7 target by 2030, that would need to increase to about 1.53%. But the good news in all of this is that across the Indonesian economy, there are many opportunities to do this energy efficiency across areas such as building energy efficiency, MEPs, which are minimum energy performance standards for the type of appliances we all have in our houses, and electrification of transport. So many of the honorable speakers talked about electrification of transport. I was very glad to hear this because there are huge opportunities, particularly in the public transport space in things such as buses and taxis. So if we do manage to enhance energy efficiency, there are many benefits both within the SDG framework and outside the SDG7 framework. It reduces the amount of investment you need in power generation and in the energy sector. It increases the share of renewables because, of course, if we decrease the overall energy demand, whatever renewables we have on stream is playing a much larger role in that mix. It reduces emissions, of course, air pollution, and it offers businesses and households some opportunities for cost saving. So this is just a spectrum of some of the cost saving opportunities, the energy efficiency opportunities gathered by sector. You can see this one is electric vehicle buses, a 50% share. In the MEPS space, the appliances MEPS lighting offers the largest opportunity in terms of performance standards. And then in the industrial sector, there are a range of interventions that offer savings going forward. So this again is further detailed in the report. So this is probably where I would like to stop because I want to allocate the maximum time to our speakers. But what I wanted to do is just share the QR code again if you didn't catch it, and also the ESCAP Energy email address. Because of limited time in this session, we don't have the opportunity to do a Q&A with our honored participants, but we're very interested in your feedback, either on the chat on the YouTube or through this email address. So with that, I'm going to switch off my screen, and what I would like to do is introduce you to our first speaker. I'll introduce the speakers one by one. So we have 4 speakers who are going to give us their expert reflection, and we'll also have the honor to be joined by 3 members of Parliament who are all members of the Green Economy Caucus, and I'm going to introduce them one by one also. But the first speaker I have the pleasure of introducing is the Honourable Mercy Barends. She's a member of Parliament, but also the chair of the Green Economy Caucus. And I would be honoured if you would take the floor and give us your insights on this topic. Over to you, Mercy Barends.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael Williamson. Madam Executive Secretary of ESCAP, Ms. Amida Zalsia Ali Shahbana, Honorable Your Excellency, Mr. Arifin Rudianto, on behalf of Minister of National, Minister of Energy, Minister of National Development Planning of Indonesia, Your Excellency, Mr. Ego Syahrial, Secretary General of the Minister of Mineral Resources of Indonesia, and Honorable Aziz Samsudin, Deputy Speaker of People of Representatives of Indonesia, panelists, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to say thank you for this excellent opportunity to deliver and highlight some points of view related to the progress of SDG7 in Indonesia as a board member of Air Quality Asia and Green Economy Caucus perspective as well. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, apart from the climate change crisis, we are also currently facing the COVID-19 pandemic. This pandemic can serve as a small glimpse and a reminder to all of us of the crisis that will come if we run the business as usual without taking real and significant action to fight climate change. Other problems that very likely to arise include extreme air pollution, rising sea levels, massive migration, and increasing temperatures, making the Earth an uninhabitable place. Therefore, we'll have to take a serious effort toward implementing the SDGs 2030. Countries in the Asian Pacific region, as well as other countries around the world, have made their commitments during the COP21 Paris Agreements in 2015. In Indonesia, the Paris Agreement is ratified and translated into Law Number 16 of 2019 concerning the ratifications of Paris Agreements to the United Nations Framework Conventions of Climate Change. Under this regulation, Indonesia has a target to reduce carbon emissions by 29% with its own efforts and 41% with international assistance. With the regulation being ratified, Indonesia has now been working on the decarbonizations with several sectors as the main vectors, such as energy sectors, transportation, and forestry. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, energy is the golden thread that connects economic growth, social equality, and environmental sustainability. Energy is central to nearly every major challenge and opportunity the world faces today. Security, climate change, food production, jobs, or increasing incomes. Goal 7 of the SDGs aims to correct this enormous imbalance by ensuring everyone has access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy services by the year 2030. In Indonesia, particularly within the energy sector, this goal is translated into government regulation number 79 of 2014 covering the national energy policy. In regards to new and renewable energy, Indonesia has a target to achieve the share of renewable energy in the national energy mix of 23% by 2025 and 31% by 2050. However, in reality, we are currently at 9.15%, and we still have a long way to go to achieve this target. Some things that can be done to reduce carbon emissions in energy sector are by implementing energy efficiency, clean coal technology, and increasing policy support in the energy sectors towards clean energy. Indonesia currently has a 442 gigawatts of renewable energy resources potential, consisting of several types of renewable energy. For example, 94.3 gigawatts coming from hydropower and 28.5 gigawatts coming from geothermal energy, which is 40% of geothermal resources worldwide. In Indonesia, in addition to that, oil reserves in Indonesia are predicted to only decrease until 2028 if we have no other potential or proven reserve. Therefore, these things need to be used as a reason for us to focus on developing renewable energy, not only as an additional energy reserve, but as main energy as well. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, this issue of carbon emission and the climate crisis and the multi-sectoral problem and its handling also requires a multidisciplinary approach. Everyone has a significant role to play in fighting the climate crisis, whether it be from the private sector, industry, academia, government, society, and many others, substantive participations. As legislator, especially in Commission 7 of House Representatives of Indonesia, what we are doing now is formulating and ensuring policy making that can fight the climate crisis and support the developments of sustainable development, for example, renewable energy bill. The renewable energy bill has become the priority list for the national legislation program at the Commission 7 of House of Representatives of Indonesia. Currently, Commission 7 as well as the Green Economy Caucus is having active discussions with many stakeholders, such as the private sectors, academia, NGOs, and many others to get their input and their perspectives on issues related to the developments of renewable energy in Indonesia, such as the financing mechanism, political and bureaucratic support, and issues related to the intermittent technology and community participations. Hopefully, following the passing of the renewable energy bill, these issues can be tackled, and it will eventually lead to the robust progressions of renewable energy developments in Indonesia as the crucial part of the implementations of SDG 7 in Indonesia. Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, Member of Parliament played a key role in achieving this through sustainable policy making. The Green Economy Caucus is a network of legislators engaged in sustainable development issues and work closely with Air Quality Asia, an international air quality parliamentary advocacy group working on measurable improvement in air quality in Asia through national energy policy and emission regulation strengthening. Green Economy Caucus of Indonesia Parliament was established since 2009, and Honorable Mr. Satya Yuda in the time was the chairman of the Green Economy Caucus in 2019. Just for 2 terms in Parliament. We are honored Pak Satya Yuda we having in this dialogue. In Indonesia, the goals of the Green Economic Caucus are establishing the parliamentary-based members of Green Economic Caucus, which come from various political background, commission, and political parties, and have the significant interest in the green economic concept. Proposing recommendation and being actively involved in relevant policy making and legislative process in regards to the green economy, establishing the Green Economic Caucus position and strengthening the Green Economic Caucus influence on its involvement in various policy making activities related to the green economy. Thus far, the Green Economic Caucus have opened its door widely of discussion beyond the parliamentary themselves and have therefore opted for a multidisciplinary approach where seminars and FDGs involve various stakeholders such as academia, government, private and public sectors, activists, youths, and others. This kind of engagement is hoped will push scientific-based policies and community-based approach at the Indonesian House of Representatives to achieve a green economy for all. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, as we advance toward our climate goals, it is also imperative that we make progress towards the goals of universal access to energy by 2030 at the core of SDG7. To do this, international cooperation, active partnership, and evidence-based policy making are essential. We need to continue working collectively to consolidate a robust system of monitoring and evaluation of SDG7 to ensure continued progress and informed policy making. On our part, we remain fully committed to supporting this collective endeavor with our work on ensuring the policy making is on the right path towards the SDGs, especially SDG7. As we move forward, we are confident that renewable energy will play a decisive role in achieving sustainable development and a climate-safe future. Thank you very much. I return the floor to the moderator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mercy Barins, for your speech. It's clear that your passion is coming through for these issues, and it's really inspiring to see this commitment to sustainability, climate change, and clean air that we share in many countries around the world. So in that sense, I think we're all on the same team. So in our program, if you permit me to do a slight change, we have one of the distinguished members of Parliament has to leave for a meeting a bit early, so we would want to invite him for his quick reaction before he has to depart for his meeting. So I would like to invite the Honourable Eddie Soparno, who is the Vice Chairman of Commission 7 and a member of the Green Economy Caucus, to take the stage to give us his response to these issues we've been discussing. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Michael. Distinguished speakers, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for having me as speaker on a very short notice. I know it is not my turn actually, but since I am in fact doing a parallel meeting on the other side of the table, I'm glad that I've been given the opportunity to speak at this point. Allow me by saying that by reporting to the distinguished speaker and panelists that Commission 7, which is the Energy Commission in the Indonesian Parliament, is currently working on a renewable energy bill. It is our priority bill of this year and next, and we expect the bill to be concluded by first quarter of 2021, and we aim to pass it before the first half of 2021. We will focus obviously on the key strengths of the Indonesian economy, Indonesian renewable assets, which we have in the solar industry, geothermal, wind, biomass. And this bill, this law, is a much awaited law, which has been somewhat long delayed and awaited by the Indonesian society of, especially on the power side. We are currently concluding detailed discussions with people from the academic sector, technical experts, captains of industries, and obviously the power sector in Indonesia to get as much information, as much data, as much industry practice as possible to include this into the bill, as this bill we expect to be one that will be a long-lasting bill, a bill that will stand the test of time, and a bill that will accelerate the development of renewable energy in Indonesia. Ladies and gentlemen, 20 years ago, Indonesia was known to be the largest potential in terms of countries in Southeast Asia for the development of renewable energy in the power sector. Today, Indonesia remains the biggest potential in Southeast Asia. So with this new bill coming into effect in 2021, we believe that Indonesia will actually become Southeast Asia's biggest renewable energy producer going forward. And we are very encouraged that this bill will then accelerate Indonesia to somewhat become not only a leading renewable energy country, but also a country that will fulfill and maximize its potential in the renewable energy sector. So by having said that, I thank you for the time extended to me, and I wish you a continuous process in the discussion. And thank you very much. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you, Honorable Edi Sapardo. We really appreciate your kind words, and we hope to work with you again in the future. So continuing in our agenda, the next panelist I would like to invite to speak is Dr. Nuki Agya Utama. He's the Executive Secretary of the ASEAN Center for Energy, or ACE as we call it. We really appreciate the partnership with ACE and ESCAP over many, many years. And we know Dr. Nuki very well personally, and so we're very glad that he's here to offer his expert reflections on this roadmap. So over to you, Dr. Nuki.
Yes, thank you very much, Michael. Your Excellencies, colleagues, this is very great opportunity to be here discussing on the SDG roadmap for Indonesia, especially on the SDG number 7. As you may also aware that the ASEAN itself already endorsed the ASEAN Plan of Action for Energy Cooperation 2 weeks ago. And one of those activities is endorsing as well on the ASEAN Energy Outlook 6, which is one of the scenarios that we developed talking about the SDG 7 in the region and including the Indonesia. We've seen a lot of similarity, the study done by the ESCAP with a study done by us on the how to see the energy profile as well as energy landscape in the future, and how we move forward on the issues on the sustainable development goals. In fact, in the scenario that we developed, we also have one particular scenario talking on the SDG 7. So in regard with this energy profile and landscape up to 2040, we're realizing that the baseline scenarios that we have, it is will reach in more than 1,500 million ton oil equivalent. And indeed, it is very a huge amount of energy consumed and supply in the region. And over there, the amount on the electricity generation that need to be installed in the same year in 2040, approximately around 367 gigawatt. And in we talking about 2025, the APEC scenarios that we also developed, we need approximately 179 gigawatt. It is quite a big amount of electricity that need to be installed in order to maintain the needs of the electricity demand in the region. And of course, most of those are mainly coming from Indonesia, which is approximately around 30 or 40%, which needed for the country to maintain its supply. And of course, another important things on the ASEAN itself is that we have a plan on the interconnection, which is to interconnect on the power sectors, transmission sectors around the region, starting from the Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, as well as Singapore, and of course Indonesia and Philippines and Myanmar, and later on to Vietnam. So I'm talking about the power generation means that the interconnection very important to reduce the cost of the power generation, to have the possibilities to increase the RE in the region with the affordable cost. So with that issues, I think the communication coordination amongst member states is important. So if we're looking at on the ASEAN Energy Outlook and UNESCAP SDG scenario, we do have indeed a similarity and of course a slightly differences. In the category of electricity access and clean cooking, the target is by 2030 ensuring universal access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy services. The UNESCAP models showing that in 2030 it will reach 100%. It is exactly the same with ASEAN Energy Outlook 6 that we developed. In 2030, we reach 100%. In regard to renewable energy, by 2030, increases substantially the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. In the UNESCAP scenario, 11.2% in 2018, increases up to 22% in 2030. While in our scenario, it is the same with the ASEAN member state scenario. Refer to the RUN, 23% RE in primary energy supply by 2025, and also biofuels blending target, especially on the biodiesels and bioethanols. In regard with the energy efficiency, the target is double the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency by 2030, and in the interpretation in the APIC scenario is 1.53% reduction per year in total final energy consumption. While in the ASEAN Energy Outlook, we have the same numbers in the ASEAN member state scenario, which is referring to RUN, 1% reduction per year in energy intensity, total primary energy supply per GDP up to 2025. It is important to note that although similar name, we put it on the scenarios, but somehow a bit different. In regard with this ASEAN energy landscape, mainly on the power generation capacity, Indonesia holds major role in ASEAN energy landscape and on the decarbonization efforts, as its power capacity is about 30%, as I mentioned previously, of the regional's total capacity. The power sector itself, since solar is projected to have the largest growth in the region, Indonesia hopefully could increase its production of the solar PV technology, of course, including the solar panels and its battery storage system. And also, as the largest supplier of coal in the region, Indonesia plays an important role in adopting high efficiency and low emission or HELE coal-fired power plant, such as supercritical as well as ultra supercritical coal-fired power plant. So in general, the comparison pathways to SDG7, the discussion points or key takeaways as the SDG target 7.1 to ensure universal access to affordable, reliable, and modern energy security, both ASEAN Energy Outlook 6 and UNESCAP emphasize the importance of access of electricity and clean coal cooking. For electricity access, both project Indonesia to reach 100% electrification before 2030, help by expanding grid connection and station supply, and still under progress. Modern cook stoves such as LPG and electricity stove uptake will be needed in order to achieve 100% clean cooking target in 2030. On the SDG target 7.2, increase substantially the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix. Both projects the increase of RE share while providing several pathways. Key difference is biofuel, where the L6 emphasized their importance to the regional perspective, while the UNESCAP report was more worried on biofuels' effects on the environment due to the indirect land use change or ILUC and required to produce them. However, both agree that developing second-generation biofuels, coal-fired power plants, for further future. Meanwhile, the UNESCAP report suggests to halt all new addition of coal steam power plant. We talk about the SDG target 7.3, double the global rate of improvement in energy efficiency by 2030. Both reports suggest that the transportation sector is particularly important for achieving the EI reduction. or energy efficiency improvement by adopting improved fuel efficiency standards for passengers and heavy-duty vehicles, as well as increasing of the electric vehicle shares. And also other important sector is industry, which holds the most share in total final energy consumption, as well as residential sector, especially for air conditioning. That's all the assessment and the comparison on the study that we've done, and also just endorsed 2 weeks ago by the 10 member states under the 10 Minister of Energy in ASEAN, in combination with the report conducted by the UN ESCAP. So thank you very much, and looking forward to the discussion. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nuki. There was a lot of detailed and useful feedback in your intervention. So in the interest of time, perhaps I would be permitted to move to the next speaker. When I introduced the process of development of NEXSTEP, I made the point that it wouldn't have been possible without the contribution of so many great experts within Indonesia. So I'm very happy that one of those experts is speaking now, Dr. Saleh Abdurrahman, who's a senior energy and environmental specialist with the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources. The floor is yours, sir. I believe your microphone is on mute.
Thank you, Michael. It's a great opportunity. I would like to congratulate UN ESCAP for this flagship publication. I have been with the team for quite some time on the early stage of this preparation, and I'm happy to see that this roadmap is really in line with our policy. This roadmap also gives us an ample opportunity, in my opinion, to increase the share of renewable and EE in our energy policy, at the same time also increase the economy. I'll just show you, for examples, on the recommendation of the roadmap on the geothermal, biomass, and solars. This is what we are now being promoted. The government of Indonesia next year will do our own exploration to lower the risk for exploration. Secondly, on the biomass, I think PLN has a massive program to do the co-firing. And also we have a program on rooftop and other initiative on the renewable. So I think the roadmap recommendation is in line with our policy. Also, I think good to note that your recommendation on the need to have the decentralized renewable energy development for rural electrification. I think we plan to do this, increase the share of the rural electrification by all means, by optimizing all the local source, like from hydro, like biomass and solar as well. And also on the energy efficiency, I think we agree that we can even make it higher than the 1% energy intensity reduction with the introduction of the electric stove. Our state-owned electricity company is planning to convert the current LPG stove to the electric stove by way of like 1 million in the next few years. So I think thank you for this SDG roadmap. I see that we can increase our target to NDC as well as to local economy. What perhaps is the main challenge of these roadmaps that we still consider is how to industrialize the renewable energy industry in Indonesia. How to make the booming of RE in Indonesia is translated into an economic growth. This is what I think. I read your report and we see that many huge investments are waiting actually if we can add the SDG7 target. So I'm looking forward to having more discussion perhaps in other times to see how we can translate this whole roadmap into a more economic and investment opportunities coming to Indonesia. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you very much, Dr. Saleh. That was a very interesting intervention. I think I completely agree with you the roadmap in one sense doesn't go down to the implementation level. And at that implementation level, there's a lot of interesting work that needs to be done. The advantage you have in Indonesia is that you have the scale. You can scale up these technologies, which lends the possibility of local manufacture, jobs, and employment creation. So these are all future conversations we are yet to have. So thank you very much for your intervention. I'd like to turn now to the next speaker, and it's my honor to introduce Ms. Valérie Julliand, who's the resident coordinator for the UN system in Indonesia. And everybody who's worked with Valérie knows that she's a very dynamic and experienced regional coordinator. So it's wonderful that she's here in Indonesia to take up this role. And I know it's a difficult time with COVID happening in Indonesia. She must be very busy with all kinds of things, but we're very grateful for your presence, Valérie, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Michael, and greetings to all of you. For the sake of time, I will try to have a short intervention because I understand that many things have been said. First of all, let me tell you that it's really a great pleasure to be here because I think that the achievement of affordable and clean energy is really an important topic, but especially because we are at a particular time of the story of our humanity with the global emergency from the COVID pandemic, but as well the global climate crisis. So in fact, if we don't talk about this today in this context of COVID, then when? So of course, similar to Mercy, I would say my concerns are very much on climate change. The World Meteorological Organization has reported actually that the global average temperature in 2019 was about 1.1 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial period. So it means that more than 10 million new internal displacements were recorded during the first 6 months of 2019, and 7 million of them were triggered by disasters such as cyclones. So as we see, we just cannot consider this imperative of climate change. And in a recent World Bank risk analysis, Indonesia was ranked 12th out of 35 countries that face high mortality risks due to multiple hazards like tsunami, floods, landslide, drought, earthquake. So what it means, it's about 40% of Indonesia's population is actually at risk of such hazards. So my first message in the context of this conference, and considering that already many speakers before me have said, oh, what was important, I just want to emphasize the fact that the recovery from COVID-19, which is the emergency of the moment that no government can disregard, needs to go hand in hand with climate action. Because we cannot postpone climate action because the climate change cannot be put on hold, you know, and 2020 remains really critical to make progress on this, including for Indonesia. So what is true is that whether we tackle the pandemic or whether we tackle the crisis, we need science, we need solidarity, and we also need very decisive solution. So for a country like Indonesia that is made up of thousands of islands, the geographic location presents an additional challenge in achieving the target of SDG 7. And that's why it's so impressive to hear and to see the progress that Indonesia has done, despite this very particularity of its geography. But in reality, as many speakers have recognized before me, you still have many remote villages that receive only hours of electricity services per day from diesel-powered generators, and they face difficulties in getting renewable, reliable LPG supplies for clean cooking. But I was glad to hear that there is such a strong commitment from Indonesia to actually achieve this 100% in both aspects before the end of 2021. So we see that the two major challenges for Indonesia are its geography and its vulnerability to disasters. And this has to be considered really. So that's why, against this backdrop, actually the SDG7 Roadmap is a great opportunity. It's actually an important step in the right direction. And the three targets that it has set, like the affordable electricity, clean cooking, the share of renewable energy, and the energy efficiency are really spot on. So as I was saying, and as I've said the other speakers before me, Indonesia has already achieved very good progress. Indonesia responded to the SDG 7 through the National Energy Plan of 2017. And the plan stipulates that by 2025, the country will achieve 100% access to electricity, the 23% energy share and renewable energy, and the 1% of 17% of energy efficiency. Of course, Michael, you highlighted that this actually is not completely on track, because we can see that this proportion of renewable energy is not enough to achieve the target. And the inefficiency energy use, particularly from the transport and industrial sectors, need to be addressed. But I have to say, and I think it was the speaker from Bapenas who mentioned it, that at a time when pressure is on government to recover from COVID, both from the social and economic aspect, the plummeting of oil prices is likely to discourage growth in renewable energy. So it is even more admirable when we see a country that is committed to achieving the targets of renewable energy despite having the pressure on recovering from COVID. As UN in Indonesia, we have been working with the government of Indonesia for many, many years, and we have been focusing particularly on leaving no one behind, as it is at the core of the SDGs. And here we talk about leaving no one behind in gaining access to clean and affordable energy. So we have worked with the Ministry of Energy and financial institutions to establish a sustainable energy fund facility that aims to attract private investment into the sector by enhancing the bankability of energy projects. But as mentioned by the speaker from Bapenas, it's actually very difficult to attract private sector in those endeavors. We also, as the UN, have been supporting the generation of evidence to studies, piloting or voluntary carbon pricing implementation in the energy and industrial sector with the different ministries. And the field of energy efficiency that you mentioned, Michael, actually significant improvement can be achieved in Indonesia through actually establishing minimum energy performance standards for industry, appliances, and buildings, and incorporating those standards in government procurement systems. Actually, you know, according to United for Efficiency, a UN program, minimum ambition energy efficiency standards for 5 appliances, here we're talking about lighting, air conditioners, refrigerators, motors, and transformers, minimum on this would actually result in saving of up to 36 terawatt hours of electricity and a saving of $3.6 billion. And this will also reduce the emission by 26 million tons by 2030. So what we see is that there is really at reach a lot of progress. Progress has been done, but much more progress is possible. So the COVID pandemic really has highlighted the urgent need for affordable and reliable energy as well. When we think COVID, we think health response, but actually we need energy as well. We need energy for the health facilities, for the communities to pump clean waters and access vital information, for the out-of-school children to learn remotely. So energy is really at the core of the COVID response. But we also know that the crisis can hinder the efforts towards achieving the SDG7, as I mentioned earlier on. But here I want to particularly underline the disruption in supply chain that could really wreak havoc on energy services, but also the reduced incomes that could limit people's ability to pay for those energy services. So in conclusion, what I want to say is that we must address climate change and COVID simultaneously, but at an enough scale and with a strong response to safeguard the lives and livelihoods. You know, we cannot set our eyes only on one target. And I think this is my last word. This is really that actually the beauty of the SDGs. I've heard some of the speakers saying, you know, energy is at the heart of the achievement of the SDGs, but so is health, so is education. The SDGs are really interlinked in such a way that we really need to consider all of them in order to achieve progress. But achieving the SDG target also opens so much opportunities for billions of people and the energy target as well. So I want to really express my sincere appreciation to everyone that is joining forces to realize the SDG7, because it's really a very important objective. So thank you very much. Over to you, Michael.
Okay, thank you, Valerie, for an excellent intervention. I really like that. It was very fresh, and it really shows that you're focused on all of these UN mandates and the whole 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And I think you're able to link very effectively what we're talking about to the larger agenda. And thank you also for mentioning COVID. As COVID broke out, we scrambled to incorporate that into the report. We have a chapter that talks about COVID. And I think when you look at the prescription for recovering from COVID, it's also in many ways the same prescription to implement SDG7. The two things are very much mutually supporting. And I think that's a huge area of work to try and bring these two agendas together, not just for SDG7, but across the whole SDGs. So distinguished representatives, time is pressing us. So please excuse me, I would like to reflect more on your statements, but I want to turn to the final two respondents. The first person I'd like to turn to is the Honorable Budi Satiro Diwandono, and sorry if I didn't pronounce your name perfectly. He's the Vice Chairman of Commission 4 and the Treasurer of the Green Economy Caucus. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Michael. That's fine. Excellencies, distinguished guests, honorable members of Parliament, because we are pressed with time, I just want to, really thank you for this opportunity to just touch upon a few things of the many things that my colleagues has mentioned before. It is very informative and just very good. But I'm here to actually, pledge my support as well, and I would like to congratulate everyone in this panel on the launch of SDG7, especially the roadmap for Indonesia. And hopefully we can really ensure affordable, reliable, and sustainable energy for all Indonesians going forward. From the perspective of Commission 4, because one of them is we deal with forestry and environment, but also agriculture, I would like just to touch upon maybe what the Honorable Edi Suparno mentioned a few while ago about some of the strengths that we have as a nation. And for me, I think biomass, biofuels will be an essential and integral part of developing an energy policy, a sustainable energy policy going forward. We have this huge challenge of huge areas of these destructed forest areas in Indonesia as well. I'm sure you well know. Going forward, I do believe that it is a chance and opportunity for us to create a roadmap and framework to reforest these areas and in tune with and sustainable energy policy. We would like to see reforestation of these degraded lands, degraded areas with species, fast-growing tree species that's endemic to Indonesia, but can also be a very viable and good source of biofuel and biomass. Out of the millions of hectares of destructed areas of forest in Indonesia, I think going forward, this will be a good opportunity for us to tackle climate change, but also the need for sustainable energy going forward. So, and this opportunity, I would like to just say, I'm really happy to be a part of the Green Economy Caucus, and I would like to applaud my colleagues in Commission 7. I do hope that this new renewable energy bill will be a really a comprehensive solution for Indonesia to have or to be at the forefront of sustainable energy. And again, just touching upon some of the things that my colleague has said, we are in the midst of a global pandemic, and some of the challenges that we face as a nation going forward include the need to increase food production amid and demand, and this entails the need for sustainable agricultural practices and food production, which in terms of the work of Commission 4, we are hoping to address going forward. So again, I'm really sorry that we are pressed for time, but I do hope that we will have more opportunities to engage one another, because some of the things that I've been listening to all these distinguished panelists and speakers, I'm really optimistic that going forward we can achieve all our goals if we work together, if we speak, if we listen to one another, and hopefully engage one another going forward. So again, thank you very much for this opportunity, and I do congratulate all of you and commencing this huge endeavor, huge project in front of us, and hopefully together we can achieve big things. Thank you very much, Michael, for the time, and hopefully we'll have more talks in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Budi Satiro, for those inspiring words. So last but certainly not least, I would like to welcome another one of our wonderful parliamentarians from Indonesia, who is the Secretary of the Green Economy Caucus. Her name is the Honorable Dia Roro Esti Widya Putra. Madam, the floor is yours. We would love to hear your remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Michael. Good afternoon, everybody. And firstly, I'd like to convey my greetings and hello to Ibu Armida, who's the Executive Secretary of UN ESCAP, and everybody in UN ESCAP as well. Pak Arifin from Bappenas, Pak Ego Syahrial from the Ministry of Energy, members of the Green Economy Caucus. We had Ibu Mercy, Pak Edi, Pak Budi as well, and also elected member of the National Energy Council, Pak Satya, along with all the speakers that has conveyed their messages today. Thank you very much for having me, for inviting me to take part in this very insightful discussion. And as you know, we've established earlier, we are in the middle of multiple crises, right? The health, the economic, social, and also the climate crisis. And given this pandemic, we see that humans can adapt quite fast, you know, and it's proven itself that change can happen in a state of crisis. However, what I'd like to remind ourselves is that we shouldn't really wait to see more evidence of climate change happening. You know, we've seen enough already for us to act now and to act fast. And it really is a matter of priority. And as discussed previously by the Vice Chairman of the Indonesian Parliament, Pak Aziz, along with my colleagues at the Green Economy Caucus, we are making substantial progress in Parliament, particularly in pushing the renewable energy bill forward. And as we know, it has also made it into the priority list for 2020 and also 2021. So I can confidently say that the political will is there. And given our 23% target, there needs to be strong synergy between Parliament and also government in enacting policies you know, to achieve this target altogether. Unfortunately, it's oftentimes forgotten that this synergy, both between the Parliament and government, you know, play a very significant role in policy making. In a way, one cannot move without the other, right? And so we have a lot of potential as well when it comes to renewable energy in Indonesia. One of our short-term targets is to really just push the installation of solar panels and also solar power plants in Indonesia. And we also hope that through the renewable energy bill, you know, the renewable energy can become more competitive within the energy market, taking into account the externality costs as well associated to, for example, the fossil fuel industry. So right now we are opening our doors, talking to multiple sectors about, you know, what is needed within this renewable energy bill, whether it be with regards to the pricing scheme, you know, perhaps levying a carbon tax, you know, is that feasible for Indonesia? This is the kind of discussion that we are currently having with the government, even with the public-private sectors, the academias, and industries and organizations overall. And I'd like to kind of just end my very quick intervention by really just stressing the importance of collaboration and working together. I believe that everybody has a very important role to participate in enacting, you know, in creating a sustainable future for all. And I think one of our homework is to really just understand what we can do as individuals to create this change. So that's it for me. Michael, thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dia Putri, and for rounding off our session in such an eloquent fashion. Thank you very much. So, colleagues, I apologize for the slight overrun of time, but I think that's been a very effective session. And I really want to appreciate and thank all of the speakers who gave their expert feedback. So it now falls to me to pass the baton across to Dr. Engineer Djoko Siswanto, the Secretary General of the National Energy Council, who's going to give the closing remarks. So over to you, sir.
His Excellency Mr. Arifin Tasrif, the Minister of Energy and Mineral Resources, represented by Secretary General Pak Ego Syahrial, His Excellency Mr. Dr. Honoris Clausa Insinyur Haji Suharso Manuarfa, Minister for National Development Planning Bappenas, or Representative, Distinguished Mr. Aziz Samsudin, MP, Deputy Speaker of the People Representative Council, Distinguished Miss Armida Salsiah Ali Shahbana, Executive Secretary, United Nations Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, UNESCAP, guests, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera bagi kita semua. May we be blessed with peace and prosperity. A pleasant good afternoon to all of you. It has been pleasure and honor to hear the outcomes of this high-level meeting and to speak in this excellent event. On behalf of the Ministry of Energy and Mineral Resources, Republic of Indonesia, as daily chairman of National Energy Council, Republic Indonesia, I would like to thank all speakers and representatives. Your input and contribution to this meeting has been extremely valuable. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, we are very pleased to have the fruitful collaboration between UNESCAP and the Government of Indonesia through Minister for National Development Planning and the Ministry of the Energy and Mineral Resources. This cooperation aims to support Indonesia in achieving Sustainable Development Goal, SDG, and National Determined Contribution, NDC target. We know that energy indicator in SDG7, such as percentage of population with access to electricity, proportion of population with primary reliance on clean fuel and technology, increase the share of renewable energy in the global energy mix, and improvement in energy efficiency in line with the energy target in the Indonesian National Energy Policy, CAN, and the Indonesia National Energy Plan, RUEN. Therefore, Secretary General of the National Energy Council, Republic Indonesia supports the program that initiated by UNESCAP to prepare the National Expert SDG tool for energy planning, NEXSTEP. Excellency, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, in preparing the roadmap for SDG7, UNESCAP has designed NEXSTEP in collaboration and consultation with us that undertakes national energy planning and modeling. The roadmap has also been peer-reviewed by a panel of global experts. This roadmap contains a matrix of technological options and enabling policy measures for the government consideration. It presents several scenarios that has been developed using national data, considering existing energy policy and strategies, and reflecting on other development plans. These scenarios are expected to enable the government to make an informed decision to develop and implement a set of policies to achieve SDG7 by 2030. We are also preparing final draft of the Indonesia Grand Strategy Energy to accelerate the achievement of SDG and NDC targets. As we know that Indonesia now still import crude lots for our feedstock for our refinery. Also, we still import gasoline for transportation, and also we still import LPG lots for cooking. So on that draft final of Indonesian Grand Strategy, we prepare and planning and strategy how to reduce import of the crude by production increase by 1 million barrel oil per day from our resources, and also from acquisition oil fleet in some countries. To reduce gasoline, we planning to develop electric vehicle, and also to reduce LPG, we planning to use more and more electric cooking. And also we planning to use dimethyl ether to reduce or to replace LPG. Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, we hope that the SDG7 roadmap that had been prepared by UNESCAP and Indonesian government can provide input and consideration for energy policy in achieving emission reduction target, and this is in Indonesia. Finally, we would like to thank UNESCAP and all parties involved in the preparation of the SDG7 roadmap for Indonesia. Once again, we would like to thank to all of you for giving your precious time to participate in this forum and extend my thankfulness in advance to everyone who contribute to this forum with their ideas, insight, and experience. Thank you for your kind attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you very much, Dr. Siswanto. I would just seek advice from Director Liu if he has any closing remarks as we end the session. Okay, so on behalf of ESCAP, it's my great pleasure to thank you, all of the distinguished speakers, all of the participants. And I think we all look forward to the next chapter of cooperation between ESCAP and Indonesia. So it's not so much goodbye as see you very soon. Terima kasih, thank you, and goodbye.